this discomfort you feel when people treat you poorly isn't rejection. It's your soul waking up to its true worth. That sting in your chest, the heaviness after being overlooked, that sudden quiet when someone walks away, it all means something deeper. It's not about them, it's about the part of you that's finally tired of being unseen. You're not falling apart. You're finally waking up. You see, when you begin to value yourself, truly value yourself, the world around you starts to shake. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your energy is shifting. You can't fake self-worth. And you can't keep pretending that you're okay with being the second choice, with being taken for granted, with being loved halfway. That ache inside, it's not just sadness. It's your soul screaming, "This isn't me anymore." People often think pain comes only from loss. But sometimes the biggest pain comes from staying in places where you're not respected. And that pain builds slowly, day by day, until one day it bursts. That's not a breakdown, that's a breakthrough. That's your inner self saying, enough. Carl Jung believed that we must confront our unconscious mind to heal. And what happens when you've been unconsciously believing you're not enough? You attract people who treat you that way. You tolerate things that drain you. And every time you do, your soul gets quieter until it can't anymore. You might have noticed it already. You're less patient with people who drain you. You're less willing to explain yourself to those who never try to understand. That's not you becoming cold. That's you becoming clear. You're beginning to see your own light, even if others still want to keep you in the dark. And this shift, this quiet realization, is how it all begins. The moment you start seeing how valuable you are, something powerful happens. You stop chasing what hurts you. You stop begging for crumbs. You stop shrinking. And in that space, something new begins to grow. That's when your energy starts attracting better. Because value always attracts value. You can't carry yourself like you're unworthy and expect to be treated like gold. And when you rise, the things that no longer match that energy, the people, the places, the patterns, they begin to fall away. It's not loss, it's alignment. So if you're in that space right now, feeling alone, confused, like everything is changing, good. It means your self-worth is rising. It means your soul is saying, I'm ready for more. And once you truly hear that voice, you never go back to the old version of you, the version that settled, the version that begged, the version that forgot how powerful they were. Because when you value yourself, something sacred happens. You only attract what matches that value. Nothing more, nothing less, just the best. If you don't value yourself, the world won't either. That's the truth. Life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you believe you deserve. And if you keep accepting less, life will keep handing you less. You'll stay stuck in the same kinds of relationships, the same draining cycles, the same quiet sadness that follows you from place to place. When you don't recognize your own value, you become a magnet for people who also can't see it. And they'll treat you just like you treat yourself, with limits, with doubt, with distance. They won't show up for you fully because deep inside, you haven't shown up for yourself yet. It's a hard truth, but one that sets you free. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. What does that mean in your life? It means if you carry silent beliefs like I'm not enough, or I have to prove my worth to be loved, those beliefs will shape everything. They'll guide who you choose to love, what you tolerate, how you let people speak to you, and even how you see your own reflection. You'll stay in places that hurt, calling it loyalty. You'll chase people who don't care, calling it love. You'll silence your truth to keep peace. And over time, that silence will become heavy, exhausting, and slowly you'll lose the most important relationship of all, the one with yourself. This is why not valuing yourself isn't just sad, it's dangerous. Because every time you ignore your own worth, you train the world to do the same. You open the door to disappointment and shut the door on the respect, peace, and connection you deeply long for. But here's the thing, this pattern doesn't break on its own. It breaks when you do something radical, when you decide, I won't betray myself anymore. That moment, that choice, changes your life. Because once you start to honor yourself, even a little, everything around you begins to shift. You begin to ask different questions. Not why don't they love me, but why did I stay where love wasn't growing? Not what's wrong with me, but what do I deserve now that I know my value? The risk of not valuing yourself is staying small in a life that's meant to be so much bigger. It's waking up every day with a quiet ache that says there's more, but never choosing it. And that, more than anything else, is the cost of forgetting your worth. So if you feel that ache right now, that whisper that says you're meant for more, don't ignore it. That's not your weakness speaking. That's your truth waking up. There comes a moment when the pain of staying the same becomes heavier than the fear of change. That's when your healing begins. Not with comfort, but with discomfort. The kind that makes you question everything. Your relationships, your worth, your silence. You look around and think, why do I feel so unseen, so unheard, so small? But that pain, it's sacred. It's not trying to punish you. It's trying to wake you up. You may not realize it right away, but every time someone disrespected you, every time you were ignored, talked over, or used, a seed was planted. Not a seed of bitterness, but of truth. That something about this isn't right. That something about how you've been living no longer fits who you're becoming. And maybe you've spent years playing roles. The pleaser, the fixer, the forgiver, hoping someone would notice your goodness and treat you better. But Carl Jung reminded us that we meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises. That means we keep running into the same kind of pain until we're finally ready to face what it's teaching us. And what is it teaching? That being kind should not mean being invisible. That being loving should not mean being walked on. That giving others grace should not cost you your own peace. That's the lesson the pain brings. Not to harden your heart, but to open your eyes. Sometimes the people you love most are the ones who wake you up the hardest. Not because they're cruel, but because their absence of care reflects the absence of your own self-protection. They show you where you've abandoned yourself. They mirror how much you've tolerated. And that mirror, though painful, is how transformation begins. You start to notice little shifts. You cry for no reason. You can't pretend like everything's okay anymore. The smile you used to fake gets harder to hold. You find yourself needing space, silence, solitude, not because you're weak, but because something inside you is unraveling and rebuilding at the same time. This is what Carl Jung meant when he spoke of the shadow. The parts of us we push down, our anger, our needs, our boundaries, they don't disappear. They just wait. And eventually, when you've had enough, when your soul is done playing small, the shadow rises. Not to destroy you, but to demand your honesty. To say, no more pretending, no more shrinking. So if you're in that space where everything feels like it's breaking, know this: you're not breaking down, you're breaking open. And everything that's falling apart is making room for everything that will finally align. You may feel lost, but you're closer to yourself than ever before, because the pain didn't come to stay. It came to lead you home, to your value, your voice, your worth. It came to burn away the lies you were taught to believe. It came to remind you you're not here to prove yourself worthy of love. You are love, and you are already enough. Let the pain do its work. Let it cleanse you. Let it strip away what was never really yours to carry. Because when you rise from it, and you will, you'll rise with clarity. You'll rise with strength. And you'll never again settle for anything that makes you forget how powerful you are. There's a sacred moment, quiet, almost invisible, when something shifts inside you. It doesn't come with loud announcements or dramatic changes. It starts in silence. In a deep, still place within your heart, you suddenly realize, I can't keep doing this to myself. That is the moment your self-worth is reborn. You begin to notice things differently. You stop making excuses for people who only show up when it's convenient for them. You stop tolerating conversations that drain you. You stop saying yes when your soul is screaming no. And at first, it feels strange, even lonely, because for so long, you've been told that love means sacrifice and kindness means keeping quiet. But now, something else is rising, a voice that whispers, You are allowed to choose yourself. That whisper turns into a quiet strength. And even if your hands still shake, you begin to let go of patterns, of people, of versions of yourself that no longer fit. This is the beginning of your return to your true value. When you start valuing yourself, the world doesn't change overnight, you do. And that change begins to ripple outward. Your energy becomes less about survival and more about sovereignty. You stop performing, you stop begging, you start aligning. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." And that's exactly what begins to happen. Instead of chasing validation, you begin to listen to your intuition. Instead of asking, "Do they like me?" you start asking, "Do I feel safe, respected, and seen here?" Your value is no longer based on how others treat you. It's rooted in how you treat yourself. And yes, it's a process. You might still slip back sometimes. You might still crave love from the places that once hurt you, but now you see it differently. You begin to feel the heaviness of betrayal, not just from others, but from yourself, when you betray your own needs. That feeling becomes your guide. It tells you, "Not this time. I'm choosing myself now. This rebirth isn't loud. It doesn't need to be." It's not about becoming someone else. It's about coming back to who you were before the world convinced you to settle. You remember your softness, your fire, your truth. You begin to protect it like treasure, because now you know. When you guard your worth, you guard your future. Letting go of the wrong things, even when they're familiar, is one of the bravest things you'll ever do. It's saying, "I deserve peace, not just people. I deserve love that doesn't hurt. I deserve rest, not just responsibility." And every time you say no to something that dishonors you, you're saying yes to something that empowers. You stop settling for halfway love, halfway effort, halfway apologies, because you finally learned that being alone in peace is better than being surrounded in chaos. You realize that self-worth isn't selfish, it's spiritual. It's how you show the world what you're available for. It's how you create space for what is true, lasting, and kind. This is your becoming. This is the pruning before the blooming. And as painful as it might feel to release what once felt like everything, you'll look back and realize it was never really yours. It was a version of you who didn't yet know her value. Now you do, and that changes everything. There's a moment on your journey when you finally stop chasing noise. You stop filling your time with people, distractions, and conversations that leave you emptier than before. You start to crave something different, not louder but quieter, not more, but real. And that's when solitude finds you. Not as punishment, but as preparation. Solitude has a way of revealing the truth you've been running from. It silences the world just enough so you can finally hear your own voice, the one that's been whispering beneath all the people-pleasing, the fear, the guilt. And when that voice speaks, it says, "You don't need to prove your worth to belong. You already do." Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important." That kind of loneliness, where you're surrounded but not seen, is what leads many people to abandon themselves, to shrink, to stay quiet. But solitude is different. Solitude gives you back to yourself. In this sacred space, you begin to remember what peace feels like. You begin to understand the difference between connection and attachment, between support and dependency. You see clearly now that some people weren't your peace. They were just your pattern, a pattern you're no longer willing to repeat. And this is where boundaries are born, not from anger, but from clarity. Boundaries aren't walls, they're doors. They tell the world what you will allow in and what must stay out. Not everyone will like them. Some will push back. Some will leave. And that's okay. Because the moment you begin to respect your energy, your time, your heart, you stop negotiating with those who don't. You stop picking up calls from chaos. You stop feeling guilty for resting. You stop apologizing for needing space, because now you understand your peace is a priority, not a luxury. And anything that costs your peace is too expensive. At first, setting boundaries can feel lonely. People who benefited from your silence will call you selfish. Those who relied on your lack of limits will say you've changed. But that's the point. You have changed. You're no longer available for relationships built on guilt, fear, or sacrifice. You're not available for the version of life where you keep dimming your light so others feel comfortable. And in that quiet, something begins to bloom. A calm you haven't felt in years. A deeper knowing. You start hearing your intuition again. The soft inner guide that always knew the truth but was buried beneath the noise. You start trusting yourself, not in a loud, arrogant way, but in a steady, grounded way, like, I know what I need, and I'm no longer afraid to protect it. This is the gift of solitude. It doesn't isolate you. It strengthens you. It shows you that being alone and being lonely are not the same thing. It reveals that when you no longer need others to validate your worth, you become free, not from people, but from needing permission to be yourself. And Carl Jung's voice echoes, again, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. That becoming happens when you stop explaining, start choosing, and honor the boundaries that protect your growth. So if you find yourself in a quiet season where people are leaving, habits are breaking, and the silence feels deafening, trust it. This is not a setback. It's a sanctuary. This is where the next version of you is being built, in the stillness, in the space, in the strength that comes from knowing, I am enough, even here. When you begin to truly value yourself, not in theory, but in the quiet choices you make each day, something powerful shifts. You stop chasing and you start attracting. You stop begging and you start receiving. Because energy doesn't lie, and the energy of someone who knows their worth speaks without words. You may have noticed it already. As you've grown, certain people have fallen away. Some opportunities have slipped through your fingers. It might have felt like loss at first, but now you see the truth. Those things didn't leave you. You outgrew them. And now what's meant for you is being drawn to the version of you that finally knows what they deserve. Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." And when it comes to self-worth, it's not about what you say you believe. It's about how you act. Do you walk away from disrespect? Do you rest when you're tired, even when the world tells you to hustle? Do you speak up, even when your voice shakes? These are the real signs of self-value. And those actions begin to shift your reality. Your relationships change first. The ones rooted in drama, confusion, and one-sided effort begin to fade. And even if it hurts, you realize that love without respect is not love. It's control, and you're no longer available for that. Next, your surroundings begin to shift. You no longer feel at home in places where your spirit is silenced. You no longer feel drawn to circles where you have to shrink. Instead, you find yourself craving more depth, more meaning, more real. And slowly, you begin to attract it. Because now your energy is different. It's settled, clear, grounded. People can feel it, even before you speak. They feel the boundary in your presence, the quiet strength, the I don't chase, I attract in your eyes. You don't demand respect, you embody it. This isn't magic, it's alignment. When you respect your time, people begin to show up on time. When you stop explaining your worth, the right people simply recognize it. When you stop lowering your standards, life rises to meet them. And everything that no longer matches your new vibration gently exits, not to hurt you, but to make room. You stop chasing closure because you realize your peace doesn't depend on someone else's apology. You stop running after people who are unsure about you because you are no longer unsure about yourself. And in that space, the best of life begins to flow toward you. Relationships that are mutual, opportunities that are aligned, and moments that feel whole. It's not always instant. There are days when you'll still feel the ache of who you used to be, the part of you that settled, that stayed, that hoped someone would love you enough to change. But then you'll remember, you changed, and that changed everything. You'll begin to experience a different kind of love, the one that sees you, hears you, respects you. You'll have conversations that energize you instead of drain you. You'll find yourself surrounded by people who inspire growth, not fear. And, most importantly, you'll wake up feeling more like yourself than ever before. Because when your worth rises, your world follows. Not because life got easier, but because you got clearer. You stopped saying yes to what didn't feel right. You stopped waiting to be chosen. You chose yourself. And that choice, day after day, became a frequency, a quiet signal to the universe. Only the real can stay, and that's when the miracles begin. Not from trying harder, but from living truer. Not from needing more, but from becoming more. You become a magnet, not because you're perfect, but because you're finally aligned. And what is truly yours, what respects your worth and matches your peace, finds its way to you without force. Just flow. There comes a time when you stop waiting to be picked, to be seen, to be validated. That time is now. You've spent enough days shrinking, enough nights wondering if you were too much or not enough. But what if the truth is this? You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand out. And the moment you believe that, the way you move through life changes. From this moment forward, walk as if you are already chosen, because you are, not by someone else, not by some external force, but by you. And that is the most powerful kind of choice. When you choose yourself, again and again, you set the tone for how the world responds to you. Stop explaining your worth. It's not your job to convince someone to see your value. It's your job to embody it. Let your silence speak where words used to beg. Let your presence do the talking. The right people will never need subtitles to understand your heart. Carl Jung once said, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." But that's where your strength lives, in acceptance, not the polished version of you, not the version that always gets it right, but the real, raw, honest version, the one with flaws, scars, and fire in her bones. That version is enough, more than enough. Start walking like the person who finally believes she deserves more. That doesn't mean arrogance. It means alignment. It means walking into a room and not shrinking. It means expressing your truth without apology. It means holding your head high, not because you think you're better, but because you finally remember you're worthy. You are not for everyone, and that's your power. The right people won't be confused by your light. They won't ask you to dim it. They won't question your boundaries or make you beg for basic kindness. They'll feel your energy and meet you there, but they can't arrive until you do. So stop settling for almost. Stop dancing around your own needs just to keep the peace. Stop staying quiet just to keep someone close. You were not made to live in pieces. You were made to live in power. And every time you choose your value over your fear, your future changes shape. This isn't about perfection. You'll still have doubts. You'll still feel unsure at times, but now you'll move anyway. Because choosing yourself isn't a one-time act, it's a daily decision. Every morning you wake up and say, "I am no longer available for less than I deserve." Every night you remind yourself, "My worth is not up for debate." Your energy will change. Your walk will change. Your decisions will change. And soon, your life will rise to meet the standard you've set. It won't happen all at once, but it will happen. Because energy speaks before you do. And when your energy says, "I respect myself now," the world responds in kind. Let go of the people, the habits, the choices that taught you to doubt yourself. You don't need them where you're going. Where you're going is a place of clarity, peace, alignment. A place where you no longer chase, you simply attract. Because what is meant for you can finally find you when you stop hiding. Walk forward, not with fear, but with faith. Not with noise, but with knowing. The kind of knowing that says, "I don't have to wait to be chosen anymore. I already am. And now, I live like it." When you start walking in your worth, life begins to echo it back to you. Not because you forced it, begged for it, or hustled until you burned out, but because your energy finally matched what your soul was always asking for: alignment. You stop chasing love that doesn't feel safe. You stop holding on to friendships that require your silence. You stop returning to jobs, routines, and environments that cost you your peace. And you start becoming, quietly, powerfully, authentically. The old version of you, the one who kept proving, pleasing, pretending, starts to fade, not with anger, but with love, because now you understand that version was doing the best they could before they knew better, and now you know better. Carl Jung believed in individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are, apart from the masks, the roles, the false stories you were told. And this is the stage where you begin to embody that truth, where you stop trying to fit a life that doesn't fit you and begin living the one that does. Everything that is truly meant for you, the friendships that feel like home, the love that sees you clearly, the work that lights your soul, is magnetized when you are in alignment with your own value. You no longer have to chase what's real. You become it. And yes, the road here wasn't easy. There were losses. There were days where you questioned everything, nights where you cried for what you didn't understand. But now you see it clearly. None of it was wasted. Every rejection carved space. Every ending cleared a path. Every pause was part of the preparation. You are no longer who you were, and that is something to celebrate. You are softer now, but stronger, kinder, but firmer. You speak less, but your presence speaks more. You carry yourself differently, because now you know who you are, and more importantly, you know what you're no longer available for. You're not available for smallness. You're not available for confusion dressed as love. You're not available for environments that drain your light. You are only available for what aligns, what honors, what feels right in your spirit. So keep choosing yourself, again, 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 not just when it's easy, but especially when it's not. Let your life be proof that healing changes everything, not just how others treat you, but how you treat yourself. The peace you've been seeking isn't in a person. It's in a decision to stop abandoning yourself for love, a decision to trust that what's real doesn't require self-sacrifice, a decision to believe, truly believe, that you are already enough. This is your moment, not someday, not when you're better, thinner, richer, or more perfect. Now, as you are, with all the light you've always had inside. Now is the time to let that light guide the rest of your life. Because when you finally align with your own value, life aligns with you. And from that place, only the best can come. Let it.